Grand Rising. I'm going to try and keep this one short, sweet, to the point. Also, just to say, to pause this recording now and watch both the video links that I'm going to try and attach, that hopefully will be at the bottom of this or somewhere linked to the post. I link to 2 videos. So yeah, I'm just going to pause for a second and then I'll carry on speaking. So yes, I'll see you after you've watched these 2 videos. I know. The reason for suggesting what it is that I suggested in terms of watching those videos is connected very much to what I'm going to say next. And quite briefly, I heard the call, particularly in the second video, or the one that was about sovereignty. The Tartarian one was making a statement that was making it very clear 2 things that about what was happening. To the indigenous people. And the second one was about indigenous people sending out a call to indigenous peoples across the world. I heard the call. I heard what was being said, what was being asked, what was being, in both of them, I heard the call as an indigenous sovereign of Great Britain. And I'm wanting to answer that call. And I'm going to answer that call. I am answering that call to indigenous peoples across the globe. I'm hearing the call as an indigenous Britain. The word indigenous is interesting. It means from the earth, from the ground. So I've heard the call. I want to answer the call. And I'm encouraging, well, before I encourage, I'm answering the call as a Jacobite Moor. That's how I am answering the call. Yes. And I'm asking other Jacobite Moors to hear the call and to stand in your truth, to stand on your soil. I hear the call. I'm answering the call. There are Jacobite more. More means many things, actually. It's not just a place or places. Yorkshire Moor, Dartford, Hertfordshire Moor. It's a people. It's an outlook. It's an attitude. It's an approach to being harmonious with the universe, with the Most High and His creation. And I'm here, I'm wanting those that heard the call on this island named well, I don't know what it's called at the minute. Well, I do. But formerly known as Great Britain. It may not be great, but it's still Britain, the land of the covenant. Those that know this, to know this and answer the call. Answering the call means answering the call. Sorry, answering the call means becoming the sovereign. Accepting your birthright. Just as difficult to say. Is it difficult to say? Yes, the truth is difficult to say sometimes, but it is the truth. And evidence of the truth is actually right before our very eyes. And as I say, I feel as though, and I've said, people have known the truth of the matter. But I don't want to say anything more than that. Is to hear the call. There are 2 dates that are around. They're mainly around for me. I'm part, and I'm making this announcement ahead of time in some respects. I was inspired to say what it is that I'm about to say because it feels as though the zeitgeist is upon us. It's here, and it's time. For Moors, the British Moor, to come from under the shadows, to know who you are, to stand in your birthright, to stand in your truth, to be responsible, to know it, to feel it. You'll know. You'll know. And for those that know, fine. For those that don't, it's not more for you. It's not for everyone. You will know. It's not a colour thing. Let me be clear. It's not about race being more. No. Not at all. The world was more. So, on behalf of British Moors, I've heard the call, Australian Moor, Australian Indigenous, on behalf of the British Indigenous, the Indigenous of what I believe to be called Iberia, his original name for Europe. I've heard the call. The American Moor, I've heard the call. I ought to have begun this post actually by saying thank you, and just to say more about what's inspired this. It's because it hasn't come overnight. It's come gradually. See my other posts on Facebook sort of like lead into it really. There was something in one of the videos, both of them really, about being able to do what is cultural and natural, or natural to that culture, that still remains more. The Moorish Empire, of which the British Empire was part of. The Moorish Empire was worldwide. Lived harmoniously, absolutely, with different religions. I think I've said that already. So what am I saying is that the call has been heard, and I'm wanting to activate Moors, British Moors, to become more activated and to make claims, make appropriate and right claims. To know what it is to be British, and to know what has happened to the British, what has happened to Britain. It has become a land of occupation, clearly. My mum's friend used to talk, David, may you rest in peace. He used to say he was more. I don't think he knew it then. He wouldn't have identified as being more by virtue of his religion. But as I said, More has many religions within it. But he looked east. He said often God had forsaken, had left, had departed this land. Absolutely. So it is in that regard you're going to need to require, those who have heard the call will need to do your research into what it is that I am talking about, being more and looking east, standing in your sovereignty. We are the Indigenous. And when I say the we, you know, if you've heard me, you will know what I mean. I will say more later and soon. I'm going to finish by saying Islam, as an acronym. which means I, self, Lord and Master. There are symbols that go along with that, and would be considered in terms of, it reveals much about what it is to be more, to be a more. So, on that note, Islam